Hey, what's up guys, Josh's Boost here and welcome back to another One Piece video. Today I'm doing something slightly new, slightly different, no gameplay. Instead I'm going to be doing a little analysis of the evolution of the Lucci deck as it has been going through the past few weeks in the post-ban list OP10 format. I'd love to do videos like this for other leaders, but I really think post-ban list Lucci has been particularly interesting, with like not only different builds popping up, but also doing well. And I mean, it's Lucci, right? So, you know, if I'm going to be doing a series like this, kinda had to do him first. Anyway, after the ban list, 3 different builds have started to appear, and I kinda want to go over them and talk about particular strengths of certain builds and what the best one is in my opinion. In doing so, I will also be showing like some deck lists that have performed well. To give you an example, and the 3 builds I'll be going over are going to be like standard Lucci, which is Lucci with the Cypherpole engine basically. Then the second one is Navy Lucci. I actually did a video on this version of the deck like a week after the ban list dropped, but then Maximilian Lorenz, not sure how to pronounce your name, sorry, actually made top 32 at London with a similar build. So definitely worth going over that again and checking out his list. And then the third version is like the Good Stuff Black Cards Lucci deck. That seems to be somewhat of the final evolution of the deck currently, for now of course, that just this weekend actually won the Mulheim Regional. So yeah, starting off with the build that is the most similar to pre-ban list Lucci, we have just the regular CP Lucci here. This specific list is Kat's list that she made top 32 at the Peoria Regional with 1 week ago. As you can see, it is playing spend them to dig for the CP pieces and set up the trash just a little bit faster. To go with that, it's running multiple targets like the CP2 case. And then we have Who is Who, Kaku, Khalifa, and also Finger Pistol. Next to the obvious Lucci staples like the Forecast Lucci of course and Tempest Kick, which are arguably like core cards of the deck, right? Other than that, there are some specific decks in here like Jack and Uta, which we do not always see in the CP lists. And then there is just the core cards of the deck that are played in like basically every Lucci list, right? I'll just go over them real quick with this specific list and then we don't really talk about them for the rest of the video. But it's just like the basic core of the deck, right? 4 Rebecca, of course, then 1 Sabo is usually standard, then like some ratio of like Laboon and Kuzan. 3 Hina is also standard, 4 Brook, of course, then 2 Moncherry, a few Kaido, and the Lucci, of course, right, that's one of the most important cards, as well as the Tempest Kick. What sets this version of the deck apart from like the Good Stuff version is mostly the inclusion of Spandam. Spandam's greatest use is being able to set up your trash early, which will give you more consistent access to certain combo pieces, but mostly allows you to use your Tempest Kick sooner. And this mostly comes up in more aggro matchups like Zoro or Aggro Shanks, but can also definitely come up against something like Red Green Smoker or Lim. Obviously, Spandam also guarantees you will see your core pieces like Lucci and Tempest Kick faster. But running all these CP pieces also allows you to utilize Spandine, which can enable certain very powerful combos in the late game, since having it in the deck gives you easier access to the Rebecca Hina Lucci combo. It does it like in weird ways where suddenly if you have Spandine in your trash, something like Laboon Rebecca also works to do the combo. Yeah, I think this version of the deck is very strong into most of the current format, but it will definitely struggle a lot into something like Teach. Especially this list, since specifically it doesn't run the 5-cost Tashigi. Speaking of which, this is the Navy build that Maximilian Lorenz made top 32 with at the London Regional. I did a video on this a month ago, and this is like somewhat an evolved version of like the list that I showed back then. Of course, I'm not saying like Maximilian saw that video or something, of course, but they are like pretty similar lists, and I think his version of the deck is a little bit better probably than the list that I started out with just a week after the ban list. He's also like a very accomplished player, like multiple top 8 finishes. I think like one of them with pre-ban Lucci as well. But yeah, out of the 3 current meta builds, I think this one is definitely the most unique. You'll see that like the CP version of the deck and the Good Black version of the deck, they are very similar, but this one is very, very different. So instead of Spandam, it opts to run brand new as its designated searcher. It's funny to notice how very often in Lucci lists, the searchers aren't actually maxed out. which you'll also see here. Once again, he will be able to help you set up your trash a bit quicker, but this one also gets you closer to a few other very powerful cards, namely Kuzan and the 5-cost Tashigi. Being able to see them on curve is extremely powerful. Kuzan almost in any matchup, but Tashigi specifically against Teach, even though she's also definitely strong into other matchups as well. In combination with Tempest Kick, Laboon or Kuzan, she can actually out-Burgas, and you don't even need like the leader locked on play effect. Aside from that, she's also like a very strong answer to Lucky Rule. Maxing out on her and being able to search her means you will consistently see her in the Teach matchup, which improves it drastically. Then this list also plays stuff like Kaido to get rid of the 10 costs, just like the previous list I showed. Aside from Tashigi, we also see like a bunch of Navy 2Ks here instead of the CP 2Ks to make sure that your brand new hits more often. There's also a case to be made, honestly, that the Navy 2Ks generally are just stronger than the CP 2Ks. Then the less Navy specific card in here is the one of Borsalino, which is strong in the mirror and also useful as like a defensive tool if you want to set up a wall with Rebecca in the late game. I think the biggest downside to this version of the list is that you are not really able to include Spandine in your list, which lowers your power level a little bit. But the trade-off is being able to beat Teach, which is like one of your worst matchups, specifically more often, which is a popular deck, right? So that's definitely nice. And then the last type of Lucci list that I want to check out is the good stuff black card Lucci list. This list specifically is the Mulheim winner from last weekend, piloted by Lear. Congratulations again, by the way. Honestly, this deck seems like more of an evolved version of the standard CP version. And I believe this version of the deck was made more popular in the West by OPTCG Grinder and Holden Miller. Even though this list is like a little bit different from the list that they played, specifically OPTCG Grinder. As you can see, the biggest difference here from the cat list that I showed is like the total omission of Spandam. This means that we make a trade-off not being able to fill the trash as soon as possible or being able to dig for certain pieces, but it does allow us to tech the deck out a little bit more. Then this specific list is playing 2 of Tashigi, for example, but it's still opts to play Spandine and Finger Pistol as well, because even though it's not playing Spandam, the CP count is still very high because it's also playing like all the CP 2Ks and stuff. Compared to Cat's list, this version probably does a tiny bit less good versus Rush decks, but it has a better time going into Teach, just because of the inclusion of Tashigi. And then this list also includes Uta again, which seems to be getting a little bit more popular as the format goes on. So yeah, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this and it gave you some insight in the multiple ways that you can build Lucci right now. I definitely think seeing so many versions of one deck doing well into a format is very interesting, and it really shows that definitely there is still room to innovate in the OP trading card game. If you enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments and let me know like what you think the best build for Lucci is right now. If you are interested in Lucci specifically, I'm just going to shamelessly plug my Metafight guide here, which you can find in the description below. It goes way more in depth on the Lucci deck than I ever could in a video like this, and aside from different builds, it also does a deep dive into deck building and how to play out all the specific matchups. So if you're interested in something like that, please check it out. But if you don't, that's perfectly fine as well. However, if you did make it all that way to the end of the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't yet and you would like to see more of these type of videos, and let me know in the comments as well. And I mean, if you subscribe, I'll see you in the next one.